I think we're good. So let's see.
Toilet or some leaking device. So that's a great tool that we can use when people's bills go up to identify where that leak is. And we tend to, we calibrate our source meters to ensure that there's accurate accounting of water entering and leaving all of our treatment facilities. So we calibrate regular meters, we calibrate our facility meters, and we calculate losses based on the difference between the two. Now, we used to be able to get into the public school systems and provide water conservation material, but that has not been something that the schools with their rigorous rigorous curriculums have been allowing us to do in the last 5 years or so.
Okay. Great, thank you. So Public Works is not here, representative, so they're about recycling and reducing waste, and we can follow up with them. I will.
Okay. Oh, well, we skipped number 2, and I didn't mean to skip that one either. But that's you know, things to make us more sustainable. In Norwich, we have 8 megawatts of solar gardens that feed into the NPU system, and the power is purchased through CMEC, which provides the wholesale power to Norwich. So the electrons come on our system, and the electrons are purchased by our cooperative CMEC in the business park. We also have solar, electric, and hot water installed at the Kelly Middle School and the Central Firehouse. We have just started off this year an extensive energy efficiency decarbonization program called CHIP, which is going to install heat pumps in older buildings, and it also provides air conditioning as well. And it basically improves our load growth and reduces the carbon because these are mostly oil heated homes where these are going in. We do commercial lighting and HVAC upgrades and provide rebates for them. We do home energy audits, and we will provide the heat pumps for residential and commercial, heat pump rebates for residential and commercial businesses. We also have programs for businesses with variable frequency drives to improve efficiency of motors that are being run. And we have all new LED lighting in the city that was recently installed. So that's kind of where we are as far as that.
You guys
we also, as a city, have become a sustainable city, Deanna, but I have not heard much about if that's progressed any since that happened last year.
Okay. And then would you, Chris, since NPU is lead on number 5 of the implementation, can you look at that too, about green practices related to alternative fuel vehicles? Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So NPU has a large alternative fuel vehicle fleet. 30% of our vehicles are alternative fuels, either natural gas or electric or hybrid. Norwich is a long-term Clean Cities Coalition owner, and now we're a member of the state's coalition. We always look to purchase an alternative fuel vehicle if it's able to meet the requirements of our jobs. We own and operate 2 natural gas filling stations. We have installed 4 electrical vehicle charging stations in the service center, and there's roughly a dozen that we've worked through to install throughout the community, providing rebates and assistance in having these businesses put these, or these owners put in these charging units. And we have an active electric vehicle rebate program. So Norwich has not been what I would call a leader in alternative fuel and electric vehicles, but we promote them. We are looking always to expand, and you know, it's one of those things where I think it's a lot part of our problem in our community is a lot of rentals versus a lot of ownership, and hopefully it will get some traction and take off.
Great, thank you. Anyone have any questions for Chris on these implementation items that he can speak about for NPU? If you're muted, you can unmute yourself. All right, so there's not a whole lot left in our to look at. Here's the agricultural resources plan. It talks about these are the agricultural land cover areas, farm soils, just so you can see that where those are located in rural planning districts and outside the rural planning districts. And then we have our water features. So you can see the white areas are pretty much urban built environment. But that's where, you know, the farm, you can see that reservoir area, bog meadow. So we have quite a bit of what we would look at as the agricultural soils and available land for agriculture and for just open space. Jason, do you have anything to add to that? You know, you worked on this POCD, I believe.
No, one thing I would like to add, Deanne, this is Les. In the farmland area, going back to that a little bit, you know, the world has changed tremendously since we wrote up the last plan of conservation and development. I think we can all attest to that. And there is such a movement today in the farm to table movement that small farmers providing food to local industry is tremendously important, and especially trying to bring the economy back and get businesses back up and running. I think there could be an emphasis placed on farmland in Norwich if we had an inventory, and I think we do have some people that do some growing. I know the farmers markets are on Wednesdays are extremely successful. In fact, they were down there again today.
Yep.
And I think that's one thing in the implementation of the plan of conservation and development. It is a living document. I think it's an area that we really ought to encourage a little bit more emphasis on, and getting an inventory of farmland and what they're able to do and what they're willing to do. And yeah. I think that's a very good way to look at going to the future and what the world's going to look like at the other end of this pandemic, and how people are employed or how their businesses are up and running. So I think that's an area that we really ought to put a little bit of time and consideration into.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So at this point, these are the last two chapters that, you know, sections of our POCD. But I did want to bring up something that came up just kind of as a sidebar, came up yesterday with me. I met with the consultant that's working for the city regarding the fire districts and the fire departments and that whole project that they have going, the council has going. And he asked me straight out, you know, if there's anything in our POCD that talked about fire and fire protection in the city and planning for our emergency services. And there's not really anything in our POCD about that. And it's not necessarily statutorily required, but you can add things in. So that's something I think that as we're going along, we might want to touch on. We don't have to be specific on, like, we think we need this many, you know, fire departments or things like that, but looking at making sure that our growth in the city is protected, that we have the right infrastructure and emergency personnel to be able to handle our growth as well. Is there any comments on that? Anyone want to add to that?
I'll add a little bit onto that. I know when we did the charter revision last time, there was a lot of emphasis put on that, and I think it'll be interesting to see what they do find out on the study that's going on, how the fire departments are recreated. But I think it's something just to keep an eye on and see how that happens. So,
do you think it's appropriate to put something in our plan about smart growth and how we're growing, and to be able to make sure that we have those kind of amenities in place and services in place for the city, something in there?
Oh, absolutely. And only because, not only because, but one piece of that puzzle is we are growing in different ways than what we have designed the city to in the past, what the city was looking to be.
Uh-huh.
And especially right now, we have services, specifically in the fire department, some places that are overserved and some places that are underserved.
Mhm.
And I think it's definitely something to really keep an eye on. I think it is something to put in the plan of conservation and development. It's a very political issue, but
Yeah, that's why we have to be careful about what we put in, but I think as, you know, our patterns of growth and the type of housing we're getting now, Les, we're getting a lot of apartments, a lot of condo type of, you know, multifamily, I would say, developments going on in the city, and that's what's hot right now. And, you know, we want to make sure we plan for, even though those buildings are new and they usually have, you know, sprinkler systems and things, we want to make sure though that we have the emergency personnel and amenities, because they could, you know, it couldn't just be fires that are the emergencies. There could be other things when you have groups of people living together of things that can happen, you know, and elderly that need more care and, you know, things like that. So if we're going to be building out more, we may just need to be just kind of touching on that the city should be evaluating their needs on a regular basis or something, you know. Jason, any comments on that?
Well, you know, what's good about what's happening right now is you have a study that's going on. And if the study has recommendations that could be incorporated into the POCD, then, you know, that'd be a quick and easy thing to do to amend the POCD. And in doing so, you actually comply with state law in terms of the 10-year amendment requirement.
Yep. The shortcut around it.
But no, it really is. And you know, anytime you're hiring consultants to do these feasibility analysis, they're going to provide some context about whether or not there's the adequate supply or location, or you know, that the facilities have the right amount of equipment. And you know, if there's things that need to be accounted for and addressed, you can put that in a plan. And if you may have a geographic component, meaning you could put it on a map, like we need a fire station here, or it may just be that we need more research as to where the right station would be located.
Mm-hmm. Great. Any comments from Matthew from the, you know, the superintendent's office? Do you want to bring anything up tonight before we, you know, regarding anything in the plan that, since we're at the last chapter here of discussing what we already have, is there anything that, you know, that you would like to share with us tonight?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Good. And what about Regan? Regan, do you have anything new that you'd like to share?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. This is Regan. The only comment, which is more of a question that I have, is when should we begin discussion of working on the next POCD? Because I know that should be due soon, I think. Is that correct, or am I wrong about that?
No, it's due in 2023. So
Okay.
what we're planning to do is, you know, adopt our calendar for this next year. And one of the things you'll notice on the calendar is that instead of meeting every other month, we've narrowed that down to every third month. And that's to give staff some time to look at where we're at with all these meetings that we've had over the last couple of years now, I think year and a half or so, what, you know, what we've come up with on these sections, and then say, hey, when are we going to now put that committee together that's working on the next plan? And because the plan implementation committee is a different committee, the city still has the committee, I believe, in place for the POCD, you know, planning committee. So I don't know if that's going to flip to them or what we're going to do at that point, or how this is going to be merged together. I'm not quite sure, but I think that would be a discussion starting like in January or April, Regan, of, you know, okay, we've got 2 years here, where, you know, where are we doing and how are we accomplishing this? I think our plan is great that we have so far. We can change things and update it without getting too crazy, but that's something the committee can speak about. Do we want to do a complete overhaul, you know, soup to nuts, or do we want to build off of what we already have, which is a pretty good document, but just maybe making some more new, you know, updating the recommendations, keeping some that are ongoing, but things that we've done and accomplished, check those boxes off, and create new boxes, new things that that have now come up in the last 10 years that we're more interested in doing, you know?
Yeah, I seem to remember from past meetings that we had some suggestions of things that we could add to the POCD in the future. And I obviously would like to be a part of any conversations regarding historic assets of the city. I have plenty of ideas and thoughts of what we could put in the next POCD.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Appreciate your volunteering for that. So unless anyone has any more comments, I'm going to go to voting on this, adopting this calendar.
Yeah. If nobody has any other comments on what we just reviewed, then we will go to that. So the next thing on the agenda is to adopt the 2021 calendar. We have 4 dates that are on the calendar: January 13th, April 14th, July 14th, and October 13th. So I would entertain a motion to approve the calendar for the next year.
This is Regan. I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay. Any discussion? I did look. None of these seem to interfere with any holiday time frames. So, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for all
Want me
those
to
in
do a
favor.
roll call and see, and want me to do a roll call for you?
What's that, Deanne?
Want me to do the roll call for their vote for you?
Yeah, we could do a roll call. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. So I'll
Chris
go
LaRose,
first.
Yes.
Les King,
Yes.
Matthew Brown,
Yes.
Regan Minor,
Yes.
Jason Vincent.
Yes.
And I think that's everyone. If I haven't said your name, I think that's it. So
Yeah, that's everybody that's here.
it sounds like everyone's in favor.
Okay, so the calendar is set. Does anybody have any other items? You know, I do agree, you know, we are coming up on the next plan of conservation and development. And I don't know, Deanne, if you want people to go ahead and just start sending you stuff so you can put a information together or not.
Yes. Yeah, that's always great to get everyone's input, you know, but we are gonna, like I said, pick through all the minutes that we have. You know, we have them, but we're gonna literally go through each chapter, pick through, like Regan said, the things that were brought up of like, hey, we should add this, we should take, what have we accomplished, you know, and what has been done so far. And, you know, like I said, eliminate some things, add new things, and come up with some ideas, and you know, we'll start working on it. I think that's good. And at some point, we really want to get some members of the public, I think, involved. I think not just at a later stage. I think it's always good to get that public input besides members that are on boards and commissions to come. It's difficult right now with the COVID situation and these Zoom meetings to have people participate. They're not as interested in coming to these type of meetings. But I don't want to, you know, I'm a firm believer of not waiting to the end and then saying, oh, what do you think to the public? I really think you need to have them along for the ride.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with that. And I think it's a really good idea for those that are, especially that have been on this committee, for the implementation committee.
Mhm.
You know, over the last couple of years that we've had these meetings, different things have come up, and we said, oh yeah, we need to look at that in the future. And I hope we haven't lost any of that. But
No, if it's in the minutes that we have.
What I would encourage everybody to do is, if you have a list or an idea of anything you would like from your organizations that you have already listed, or as we go through these meetings, please go ahead and send them to Deanne. At least we can get just a rough list of things that the people are looking at from the different organizations in town. I think that's extremely important, so that once we actually do get into the process, it's not a tremendous amount of surprises. Oh, what about this? What about that? I think it's extremely important that as we go, we keep a running list that's accessible to the rest of us on what the different organizations are interested in and what they would like to do. And that way people can sort of think about it over time and look at the pros and cons and the impacts to the town of it. So I think that's worthy to do ahead of time, and to put that list together and make it public.
Yeah, no, I
At
think
least for
that's
those on the committee.
really valuable, Les, as well as having Matthew here and having the superintendent's office involved. Again, there's not a whole lot about our educational system or the schools in our plan of conservation and development. And since they're doing their facility study and they've been doing all those kind of things, that might be interesting to build off of what the community is going to be like. What's our goals in the next 10 years, including educational stuff in a general way, obviously. But I think that might be, really prudent to put in our plan too.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that's some good ideas. I think we need to pursue those and keep that as a running document, same as the information, the
Yeah.
implementation committee is a living document.
Yeah.
That's what makes the plan of conservation and development sort of a living document and a usable document. It's not an antiquated on the shelf type event.
Absolutely.
So I think we need to get used to continuously updating and keeping lists, active lists of things that we're looking to do in the future. So
So just as
any other
courtesy,
discussion on other items?
yeah, anybody want to say anything? Jason, do you have anything to add, or Regan, Chris, Matthew?
No, I put a whole bunch of stuff in the chat related to
Yeah.
some of the comments that were made. I know you saw them, Deanna, but maybe those, maybe it helps put the minutes together if somebody was.
Yeah. Thank you for putting those up, Jason. Once we leave this meeting, the stuff that you put up in the chat, where does that go? Does that go into the minutes, or how do we capture that before the meeting? We leave the meeting and that's lost.
Was this record? It's recorded, so it
Yeah.
should be in the recording.
Yep.
So we can go back to, okay, because I want to make sure I go back and take a look at those.
Yep.
Okay, so if there's no other item discussion, then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
We have a second?
This is Regan. I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Bye.
All right.
thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. And Melinda, thank you again for taking the minutes. I know you were there last night and tonight. We never mentioned it, but Melinda, thank you so much for doing the minutes.
Absolutely. Phenomenal. And thank you, Les, for taking lead of the meeting 2 nights in a row, too.
Absolutely, no
All
problem.
right. Good night, everyone.
Okay,
Oh, hey,
Thank you
Deanna?
all.
thank you.